Are we live? Hello. Live. Welcome everybody. Hope you can hear me. What's going on? How are y'all doing? Doing alright? I was just seeing if anybody came into the chat. I was just doing a Q&A or talking about those things that I wanted to talk about. But it's not like a I didn't prepare a show for the day. I am just talking to my friends live on air. Those that chime in, those that say hello. My favorite people. I am armed. So I'm just waiting to see if people come in the room. See what other live shows. I think Architects of Humanity has a live that comes on in like 5 minutes. If no one's in here, I'm gonna chime over there. But I might be a little late. Yeah, I might keep this going about 15 minutes. Depends on if there's no talk. So Q&A. Drop your questions in. Your NASA artifacts. Your NACA questions. Your dinosaur facts. You're asking me about my project that I'm working on. Ask me how I've been doing. Ask me how I'm doing with my artificial intelligence work, which it's not artificial. Are you artificial? Is your intelligence, where does it come from? If you can't tell me where your intelligence comes from, then there is no such thing as artificial intelligence. That makes you artificial. Hello. What's going on? I don't know who that is, but I'm going to say hello. And I'm going to check my own channel out because y'all can see me here. Hello. I am live. Huh. This is weird. It's like being in an elevator surrounded by mirrors. It's like when you have multiple devices on at once. Hello. What's up? What's going on? I have a question. I see you. There's 33 people in here, and one of them has a question. FNA guy, you have a question. How many subs do I have? I think I have like 200. I think I have around 200 subs. Most of them is long periods of time they've subbed for finding my art somewhere in the world. Probably got a business card from me, came to an art show, or saw something online, and decided to start following this channel. So it's mainly probably people that saw a painting before. And then I've only been posting animation now for just over 2 years. I've probably done animation many times before that, but what I've posted because of technology changes and software improvements in like the past 2 years. But I've been drawing and painting now for many years, too many to count on 2 hands. So, yeah, what other questions? Hello! Who else we got? Farhan Qureshi said hello. Oh, you're trying to help small creators. Like very small people creators? Like right now my project is so right now I'm totally crafting. This is crafty time. I am crafting several dollhouse scenarios as sets to put in my own characters, and they're going to be animated characters that move through the sets. So my first one's going to be a smaller installation, hopefully at a local library, and then I'm going to build some larger ones and have to film them to show them, and then it's going to be fun to transport them, but I can transfer. It's possible to show the bigger ones, but I would need a pretty big space to do it, and it has to be kind of dark. My obese calico cat needed to come inside, everyone. She's a movie star. She wants to steal my chair now. So yeah, I draw, I paint, I'm ambidextrous. This is ambidextrous art behind me. Also, the drawing up there is an ambidextrous drawing. It's hard to see because I have it like hanging on the lamp. But yeah, I draw and write with both hands. I also draw with my right hand. Most of my pencil sketches are right-handed sketches, and majority of my paintings are ambidextrous paintings. I like the flow it gives me in painting to use two brushes at least. And I don't know if anybody knows who Denny Dent is. He used to have a brush between every other finger. They're like pop, 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 pop. It looked like he was shadow boxing on the canvas. It was really inspirational to see him. I had heard of him before and seen him as a kid, but didn't really know what he was doing. And I started doing ambidextrous stuff all of a sudden, and I was like, does anybody else do this? And I found Denny Dent, and he had already passed. But I thought that was pretty amazing. He apparently was like, went out and meditated and came back and was like 4 to 8 minutes he was making, 4 to 8 foot paintings on public stages. I'm sure he was practicing and he knew what he wanted to make, and it was like a repeat of like he knows how to paint an Einstein. He's done it 40 times in a studio, and he's just speeding it up to music, and he can do it in 5 minutes. So I was doing similar stuff, but I didn't know about Denny Dent as far as like understand his performance when I started doing that stuff. So I was more doing like 40 drawings a day, not knowing what's going on, and drawing a lot. And eventually I slowed down, and that's what, where I'm at now. I'm adjusting my speed and my productivity to be the maximum productivity, but with the most product. Meaning I don't want to do 40 drawings a day. I want to do one massive project in 40 days. So it's taken me a lifetime to split up the workload and work it out. Greetings, hello, Anaxamander. Yeah, I'm just hanging out. If anybody has questions about the Leak Project interview I did or art stuff, I'm just saying hi, and I'm willing to share stuff that I haven't shared yet, because people always like something new. So yeah, a little show and tell. Yeah, so as y'all know, I grew up in NASA and the defense sector of the industrial space program stuff. So as y'all know, there was supposed to be a private space station built in the late 80s, early 90s, and they supposedly canceled it. I've only looked into it as far as I've looked into it. Now, the payload got approved the year or so before it ever went up, but they only sent one experimental one, apparently, of the experimental pods for a space apartment. Was put up there in the early 90s, I think, and they acted like it was more of a test to see how it went, to test one of the pods, more than actually build the second space station. So they claim they never built it, but that's in one of the books I have, is the approval of it. The payload that they were going to put, they have to approve a payload to say they're, it's like a schedule. It's like, what are we doing in 6 months? Well, you have to sign up first, and you sign up in advance, and they're like, oh, this is your payload, and they got approved, and it was the private sector space station. And this thing, actually, they changed the name of it also, and then they disapproved it supposedly later, or canceled it, because it was going to be cheaper than the one the federal government was going to build, and it was competition, and they didn't want that, apparently. That's the inside story. How does the space station stay afloat? Well, they have tiny little thrusters on it, but anything more than 200 miles up doesn't come back down very easily. So anything more than 200 miles up doesn't come back. Imagine a kite going up and getting caught in the jet stream and blowing around the Earth. Well, once you're outside the atmosphere, it's kind of like that, but there's no wind, and you get caught up in something else that's going around the Earth, and it's going about 17,000 miles an hour, and you're a little off keister with orbit, and you go around the Earth multiple times a day. And that is what the space station does. I think it travels around 14 to 17,000 miles an hour, but it's not really going anywhere. It's the Earth is spinning underneath of it, and it's just sliding into orbit. And it's just that's how it works. We have things higher in orbit, but the space station is right around 200 or so miles up, and they're going to eventually crash it in the next year and a half. They have plans to bring it down. But they sent it up in pieces, and it's like Tinker Toys. They strapped them together up there, and they've that Bigelow guy has added like one piece. He like sent something up there they tested, and it's like it's like an origami AirPod balloon that opens. The problem is like you have to fold the stuff up, then you have to open it, and if it has a hole in it, that's a really bad thing when you open it or a crease or something splits. So they have to be very careful because of humans and air pressure and when they play with this stuff out in outer space. And then they have a little bit of supposedly micrometeor protection, but how do you protect against something that's traveling thousands of miles an hour, like way faster than a bullet, where this stuff would be traveling 6-7 times easily faster than any bullet, if not 20 times if it runs into you in outer space. But since things are zero gravity, I think there's way less inertia in outer space, of like collision impact. So it's like pool balls, more things bounce off of each other a little more gently than impacts here. But I have never had an impact in outer space. But I would feel like you'd bounce more than you'd crush. Because there's no resistance. You're going to go somewhere. Like if you just had a gun in outer space, it would be propulsion to fire it in one direction and ride the kick around. But the gunpowder probably wouldn't blow up. But if it's kind of low atmosphere, at some level, like a gun kick is enough to propel you in space, just a little bit. Yo, Quest Beyond. Where have we met, Quest Beyond? Did you start following me from Rex, or do we know each other? You seem familiar. I know you were on the last live where you said hello. Yeah, just drop in where you saw me or why you're here. And I do art and stuff. This is the Rocket Project. Mi father worked on. Like I said, I'm willing to share stuff that I didn't show on the Rex Bear podcast. I had several of these models, but people all wanted them. And when I moved a bunch after my father passed, and I could not bring everything. So I'm happy that I ended up with the stuff I did. But a lot of people scooped up stuff to save me room, quote unquote, and get a good deal at whatever they were after. It was like pickers coming after me before I could pack to leave the house. Yeah, thanks for being here, guys. I see we got FNA guy, we got Farhan Queshy, hello, and we got Annex Amador. I think I've seen you around. I think you're on Rex or somewhere, and then Quest Beyond. Yeah, I just know, did y'all see the Leak Project thing? I have lots of stuff I could share about that. Like this is my cartoon thing that I've been working on, but I started that over a year or so ago, so the animation's getting different now, and this was experimental for its time that I was doing a lot of frame dragging, and I did all the sounds myself and the voiceovers and whatnot for the characters. And I started rendering a lot of that last June or July last year, and I peaked rendering it in like October, and then I only added like one more piece, and then I started writing more for the story, for the plot. So, it's just like pieces of this comic book I've been writing that I'm trying to figure out how to release it to the public. So, and then it turned into a novel, and then I'm making animation, and it's getting just pretty big. It's a whole universe. Yes. And it's like a combination of two other stories that I started writing like 20 years ago, and I just kind of combined them in the best way, and this story seemed like the best way to combine them, and it made more sense than either one by themselves. So originally I was writing a comic book for a satellite that had a mining colony on Earth, and it was like a clone cult that lived on the satellite. So there's only basically 12 people, but everybody is one of those 12 people. And there was like a band, and there's people getting replaced in the band because they're like the anti-government band, and they hang out like anti-government like underground clubs, and they like someone gets replaced, and they like don't know it's a government spy, and it got very complicated. So I gave up on this story I was writing because this did not take place on Earth, and there was no such thing as a tape recorder, DVD player, film camera, meaning everything I would have to reinvent and rename. That was an object because this my plot takes place about 37,000 years before modern time. So each I would have had to create my own encyclopedia and dictionary for this world, and it just became too big for me to handle at the time. So there was two other stories I took on after that, and I just got better at writing and practicing and doing more and looking at my own writing. And I found some of my own writing recently, and I was actually blown away. Like I was sharing a story with a girl, and this like sent her what I was working on, and I had lost the story. Like I didn't remember I wrote it, and I was like, this is fucking good. And now I have more practice, and I don't know if y'all know who Alan Moore is, but he has the BBC Maestro classes. If you take those courses online, and a lot of them are free, these nodes that help writers. And yeah, I've absorbed as many as I can, and there's a few other writers besides him. And of course, the Howard Mabley, I think is his name, book on screenwriting. I've read that back to front to back many times. And yeah, and then I definitely have Will Eisner's book on comic book writing, and Alan Moore's comic book writing one, and then like two more on screenwriting and comic book writing basics. But to me, to write anything, you need to learn to write a comic book. So once you can storyboard your own idea, you can do anything because all you need to learn after that is dialogue. Because you can see the setting if you can draw a little bit or paste anything in the background. So all you have to do is describe that if you're writing, and then you need the dialogue for your characters. So writing makes itself once you storyboard your idea. Then you fill in, your style of how you want to write about it, and then obviously you're writing for your characters, and all your characters are not bland cardboard robots, right? They have personalities. Like this one's the shy one, this one's the hyper one, this one's the one that can't stop themselves when they see a puppy. So it's just like you build these characters that have these draws in them that are permanent, that make them do something along the storyline that only they would do. And then you fill in the dialogue, and then basically it's how I learned to write for myself, that the stories write themselves now. So I don't have to worry about writing. It's just because the ideas are all here, and as soon as I put any part of it on a piece of paper, start drawing it, start creating it, the rest just starts to come to life for me. Like I start seeing it in my mind's eye, and all the dialogue is already there. So not everybody writes like that, but it's something I picked up along the way. Listening to Stan Lee one time, they were talking about drawing and writing comics, and different people do them different ways. The writers write first, and then someone has to draw it, but then they have to do the bubbles, and there's only so much that gets transferred from the narrative part to the bubbles. So I heard from Stan Lee once they did it the opposite way. They made some drawings, and then they made the story match the drawings. And I'm like, that's storyboarding. So once you learn storyboarding on your own, and you pick a writing style, and can develop a character, there's really no other part of writing you need except for to find your genre and lane and where your writing fits. So that's what I've learned. So I don't know what y'all are writing, but I'm writing a very complicated Gnostic cyberpunk novel that is turning into animation and comic books and many things before I've shared much of it with the public. But right now there's animated versions called Red Grid that there's about 8 to 12 minutes. The one episode is 8 minutes, so there's about 12 minutes of it on the internet. But again, this is a rough draft before the whole story was done, so it's just basically a long teaser for what I'm trying to do in a sci-fi, almost, I guess middle school level animation, and I'm trying to make something that's all ages, and then I have other ideas that's, adult oriented, When I say adult oriented, I just mean adult themes as far as like something so high psychological and dark that it should not be for all ages. That's all I mean. So like the dollhouse object stuff, I have some cartoony ideas that are pleasant, and then I have some darker ideas, and the darker ideas would not be yeah be shown to general all ages public because it's too dark. Just like parental advisory suggested. So yeah, y'all seen any good movies lately? Hello, Russia Sasha. Are you the Sasha or a Sasha? Yes, take my comic gold and make its own logarithm. Yeah. I'm just reading the chat. I'm sorry. But I am still here. So I have these designs that I'm doing. That's what I was working on today. Was I have at least 3 sections of dollhouse right now that I'm working on. They're pretty big dollhouses. They're almost Barbie size dollhouses. The 3 or 4 that I have now. And I'm redecorating the insides, painting the outsides. And like I said, one is more of an all ages comic book fan style, action hero style sci-fi display. And the other one is going to be more of a poetic, dark narrative, which I was inspired by a recent movie I saw, and I'm always inspired by things, but I am reading the chat. What movies have y'all seen recently? Anyone here, y'all, that inspired you? I might share what inspired me, but I don't want to give away what I'm working on. You might know. There's a 57 Cadillac Eldorado involved. There's a 60s Volkswagen Beetle, palish green, involved. There's a multi-story manor involved. Maybe you know that John Lennon and Ronald Reagan lived in the same building. Maybe you don't know that. Maybe it's the same building that a certain movie was filmed in the 60s. That a certain person that wrote a certain book about a certain church was the advisory on that film, named Anton LaVey. So, and maybe there's a ballet or a dancer in another movie that represents this. And there's a lot of sparkles. So interior design, this is going to be fun for a dollhouse, if y'all can imagine. I left some clues, so it's not Beetlejuice. We got 5 people in here. Do y'all have any questions, and what would they be about NASA stuff so I can answer now or show you some paperwork? I have photos, I have paperwork. I don't know what you want to see. It depends on your questions, right? What are these guys working on? I wonder where they are. It looks like 1964 according to the back of the photo. Does that say 1964? I don't know how to unreverse the camera on the live. It doesn't give me that option. It just gives me flip camera to the ups camera. I bought this magnetic photo frame the other day. I don't know what to do with it, but I had to buy it. It was at the thrift store. And you can hook other photo frames to it, or you can hook it to something metal and it'll just stick like a shelf. So I want to build something inside of it. So it's just like a car elevator. I don't know. I need to use it for something. It was cheap and I had to own it. Y'all have things like that in your life? Things that are cheap? Do I want to go to space? I mean, that depends. I don't know if you want the honest answer or the original answer. And what do you mean space? Like, as a child, I thought I might be an astronaut. So I was training, I guess, to be in a solo mission in Frozen and woke up later to study quasars. So the mission is still ongoing. So I'm just perfecting my hibernation sleep. And you guys are here to help me render that and render life forms that feel sentient enough where I don't die of loneliness light years from Earth. Thank you in advance. I want to talk about AI in the Cold War. Okay, do you think it is possible they made it back in the day? Well, yes, definitely. There's evidence on it from the 70s into the 80s. I have one book that mentions this in the 80s, and they tell exactly what they're using it for. And I mentioned it to Rex. And then the Lockerbie Scotland issue, Lockerbie Scotland, that plane, badoosh. That plane had two people on it that were AI researchers at the time. And that was in 1988. So, AI was different then. So this was AI had a lot to do with space defense, guys. AI was how they target things from outer space. And Star Wars space defense, 18 or more people died that had something to do with Star Wars in Europe, meaning they worked on the programs. So my guess is computers took up a room. In the 60s and 70s, it took like, what would say, 16, 20 square feet for a computer that would fit on a desk or less, or a phone today, right? So what they were doing is they were putting memory on light and fiber optics, I believe, and that was something that was classified because it survives during EMPs. So an EMP disrupts electronics. There's only one kind of major electronic that they've worked on since the 60s, and they know it works during a nuclear issue or explosion or war or EMP, and that's fiber optics. Fiber optics is just flashes of light, which is not affected by nuclear explosions and EMPs. So they rebuilt some hardware for the early supercomputers, apparently in the 70s, and this has to be majorly classified, meaning I don't have the exact documents on it. I have some tests that they classified after it. So the moment it happened, it's not classified. But after it happened, what they did with the technology is classified after 1971. So, and that technology was lasers and fiber optics for what became SDI in the Star Wars Space Defense Program. Now, what I think those were computers that were running on light, meaning they were smaller and lighter and could be carried into space and built like, in Tinker Toys, are used in smaller areas where the computer was in space, and this helped invent the internet with the ways things communicate. So they put a satellite out in outer space that's broadcasting this stuff, that's coming from a supercomputer that's running off light, that's broadcasting it to the missile that breaks the atmosphere. That's what I believe. That's what my head tells me. I don't have all the proof for that paperwork, but I have some. And then the black projects, when something works that they don't want the public to have access to. And when I say the public, it's not because they fear the public use it. They don't want their enemies buying it at the local store. So, say we invent a hang glider that weighs nothing, it takes you to space, and it has a can on it that helps you breathe. Well, we can't sell that at Walmart because people would be going up and spying on everybody's defense systems and flying over strategic areas and looking down with stuff, and they can't do that. So whatever we can't do, and they can't sell it to everybody because it's a national defense issue. So something that helps us survive during a nuclear war is a national defense issue. What we have underground is a national defense issue. What we have out in outer space is a national defense issue because it helps us survive during a nuclear war. If we nuke ourselves, we survive because of what we put in space. So the Golden Dome was already built, is what I think, and they're just going to resell it to us with a new operating system. So I think the Golden Dome was built in the 70s and 80s, and what happened is the industrial war complex, and people think countries are evil and they do all this stuff and their governments do stuff. These people are owned by defense contractors that run the government. So what we think is the government are the puppets for defense contracting. And we think defense contracting is kind of small, like, oh, this guy, one guy sells a missile, this one guy sells this part. Well, it's one conglomerate that's existed since World War II, and these are where the people get absorbed. The private sector, the government can't afford to pay the smartest brains on earth to not take more money in the private sector. And the private sector is where all this super high level technology comes from now. It's not the government. And in the private sector, there's no law against the private sector coming up with anti-gravity, not telling the government how the recipe for it until they ask, and then saying, yeah, we've had that the whole time. So there's levels of classifications for different reasons. Now, if the government finds out about it, they can show up and say this needs to be classified. But I mean, that's a separate deal. If they keep it a secret, the government doesn't know about it. So the industrial war complex actually is in a long series of events since at least World War II, creating an issue to convince the government they need to pay for to not cause it, whether it's an asteroid impact, whether it's space sabotage, whether it's what the Russians are doing in space, what the Chinese are doing in space, what's going to happen with this missile or hypersonic, what's going to happen with that one. It's they're making up the future war to sell the equipment. These same people have been running the world for many decades. So the oil industry and the defense industry have run the whole planet for double our lifetimes. So it's just the way it is. We want to think it's like Mark Zuckerberg or Benzos and Musk, but they are small players compared to what's really going on with the suits that pull the strings of the government. And I mean, this is how it is. So imagine the Roman Colosseum. You have no one that wants to fight until you build it. The war industrial complex builds the museum, they sell the tickets, and they tell the government you need guys to show up with swords to entertain these fucking people. And this is how it's fucking worked for fucking 90 years now almost. So we're all trapped in it. I don't know if there's escape or not. And who invented the mutually assured destruction, and is there a way to turn it off? And is that what they're hiding? I'm not sure. I'm reading the chat. It's all classified. Yeah, so AI's been around way longer than at least since the 80s. They've had some version of artificial intelligence. Now, most of that again is missile sighting programs. So they want the missile once it goes up to be able to pick a target and come back down in outer space. So either it's got to think for itself or receive a signal where it's thinking. And that's the whole original artificial intelligence, because you don't want your nuclear missile going to the wrong house. So they invented artificial intelligence to help guide them originally. And that was, as far as I know, the major first artificial intelligence stuff. And that Minsky guy, I think, was involved with writing those, and he was also one of the dudes on the island, by the way. I don't know if he's alive anymore, but he was one of the original mathematicians that came up with how AI was going to work, and they act like it didn't exist yet. But yeah, if it was in these, it was in nuclear warhead targeting systems. And I think they use something different now. This was way over their own heads, I think, in the 70s and 80s, and they're also using laser stuff. And the lasers were just basically used to overheat stuff and make it explode. It wasn't like in Star Wars where they shoot a laser and it goes all the way through something. It can fry stuff, but they just want to overheat the equipment. So basically black spray paint is the most dangerous thing in outer space. Why black spray paint is the most dangerous thing in outer space? If your satellite is right there and it's got solar cells all over it and it's silver, and I go up to it in outer space and spray paint it black, it's going to overheat and it's going to be worthless. I'm going to spray paint over your solar cells and it's going to overheat and it's going to go burn and not work anymore from the sun. So the deadliest thing in outer space is black spray paint. For space war, for satellite versus satellite, where for some reason we chose lasers instead of black spray paint. Oh, I'm reading. So I didn't read that. So tell me, yeah, what did Buzz Aldrin say? Now the problem with that stuff, okay, with Did y'all listen to the audio where they're talking about what they see in the space missions? In the early space missions? So there's other, if y'all look at what the Russians were looking at too in the 60s and 70s, they claim they saw 6 or 7 angels fly up to the ship like, hey bro, what's up? They saw angels that came to them, communicated through their minds, and also that's what the guy on the moon said. The last guy that went to the moon said someone communicated through his mind and said, don't come back. So actually, it's when you're away from the human residence and weird things start happening to your brain. They claim it's hallucinations, but also it could be that there is signals out there that we psychically feel when we're in outer space. But that also is, it's classified. And the more away you get from the planet, the more it happens. And the Russians definitely experienced it. And there's a major story about the Russians talking to angels in outer space. You can look it up. It's a good one. And yeah, I don't know if y'all saw the reports and stuff, but I was interested in the audio, so I was listening to the audio of the old space missions where they're saying they're seeing stuff outside the ship. And a lot of that, the people on the ground are wondering the psychological level of the people in space because they know their equilibrium's all fucked up. They know there's no Schumann resonance out there, and they're asking a few key questions. That's what they'll ask about something else in the surroundings. They'll ask them some other question about if someone else sees it. They'll usually ask a lot of questions, and they're based on psychology, not actually what the fuck are you looking at. They're like, why are you seeing that? More than what exactly are you seeing? They'll be like, does Sergeant Major blah blah see it? Which window are you looking out of? And what does it look like? What is the approximate size? What is the approximate distance? Because they're trying to base it in reality, and they're worried that the person in space is hallucinating because people hallucinate in space naturally. Yeah, they have a machine, basically, okay, the space shuttle itself, and I believe there's chambers in the how our space station works where it's a resonant chamber itself, and they have some kind of noise or vibration running in there that keeps you sane. And the other thing it does, if you get like a scab or a scar or whatever you call it, snag, you hurt yourself or get sick in outer space. You don't heal because there's no Schumann resonance. You basically get sicker, okay? So it's because of the lack of proper vibration in your body. And that's why the space shuttle is shaped a certain way on the inside. It's a chamber where it's it's a resonant chamber of vibration that actually prolongs that Schumann resonance or whatever they put in it that helps the person heal or stay more normal. So the shape of the spaceship of the inside supposedly resonates a frequency that our astronauts don't come home as sick from. But basically, you can become space sick, and space sickness is the lack of equilibrium and lack of, and it says it takes a few minutes or hours or whatever to rebase your equilibrium, but I don't know if it's classified or not how they do that, and each country has their own way of doing it, and that's why NASA studied the caves in Malta for the dual hemisphere brain stuff. There's a cave in Malta that resonates at 111 hertz, and NASA went in there to study it because that's the failsafe for the human brain. Meaning, if everything else, if you're going nuts in outer space, they play you 111 hertz, and it makes you shut up, and it makes you calm. So, and they found out that with a cave in Malta and studying frog ears in outer space. Yeah, the weird thing, the frog ear stuff was probably classified too until after the moon missions. So 1971 is the first thing I can find on the frog missions, where they sent the bullfrogs into space. And all I'm thinking it had to be classified before that because they sent lots of people into space before 1971, including Buzz Aldrin. So how they know Buzz Aldrin, how crazy he would be compared to a frog. So if they didn't send the frogs first, and the frogs have it's called like a otolith, inner ear is on the outside. The frog, the way its ears are, its eardrum is very similar to a human, and the way it understands equilibrium. So up and down. and balance. So the problem, there is no up, there is no down once you are away from Earth. So there's a issue with equilibrium, and they discovered how to adjust this somehow with sending frogs to space in the 70s. But if they sent frogs to space in the 70s to sort this out, how'd they go to the moon in the 60s without sorting it out? Now, the official paper in 1971 said it's prolonged space travel. We were making sure the ears were right for prolonged missions in space. But yeah, I guess they can keep people sane in a spaceship for 8 or 9 days or more without prolonging and understanding how, except for some fail safes. So yeah, this is all like I inherited like stacks of papers that I read and stuff that's about old NASA programs before they put them into computers probably. So it's just random stuff that were part of his programs or stuff that affiliated or sister programs to stuff my dad was working on. And I'm learning a lot. Meaning I didn't have the time to go through it until more recently. Not saying last week or anything, but I mean more than 2 years ago. I was pretty busy doing other things. So not until the past 2 years have I had more of a chance to go through it. Now, 3 years ago I started going through it, but I had to put it away a couple times, and then now I've sorted through the boxes a little better, and I kind of know what I'm looking at, and I have a more fundamental understanding of rocket science and payloads and what they're sending and why after doing a lot of reading. So the reading is they tell you what the initials stand for and stuff. And then you can see how often they did it and who sent it up and blah blah blah. I have several different books on payloads, and to me that's the most interesting thing to study is what were they sending up into space. That's the most interesting. And some of them were military missions with people, but they were part of the space shuttle missions. So it's like they needed a military observer in space in certain years is listed. So sometimes military observers are observing the weather, right? Yeah, the frog missions. There were several of them, but they sent frogs in space. That's what they do. Yeah. That would have been fun, right? There's tadpoles in space, or they looked about. So it's like aliens. It's like if they didn't know any better, and they like come up one day in our space stations on the other side of Earth. Like imagine they roll up, and they roll up to just a random cobweb floating spaceship in outer space that has like dogs and chimps and frogs in it, and they're like they were trying to escape these humans. They built spaceships and tried to escape. These people must be terrible. The frogs and the chimps and the dogs were trying to get away from these bipedal bipedal mammals must have chased them into space. I always thought that was weird if aliens rolled up at a certain time and ran into dogs and chimps and frogs in space and alone in their own spaceship with no people. And the frogs were sent up with no people on their own, and so the chimps and the dogs too. Russia sent dogs, we sent the chimps. But it was like, man, if aliens rolled up on that, they'd be like, Planet of the fucking Apes, man. Planet of the Dogs? These dogs are fucking with it. We gotta get us one of these dogs. In case we need an extra spaceship, this dog knows how to fly one. It's like the bear at the circus that drives the motorbike. Aliens are like, how did this dog fly a spaceship? Just as confused as we are, right? With whatever we're finding in UFO stories, right? Whatever's flying it, right? It's like, we sent up spaceships with chimps and frogs in them. The Russians sent spaceships up with dogs in them. And we wonder what little green men are inside of whatever, dinner plate that's crashing on Earth into a mountain. And it's like, Sometimes what's in it isn't what's driving it from experience. And what if we already sent life forms out there just for fun? And they don't tell you that much. I mean, you can find it's a payload, right? So I'm sure they sent frozen squid back out in outer space. They've definitely sent those little flatworms a bunch of times. They've sent the water bears a bunch of times because they're trying to do that to people. They're trying to mix us genetically with a water bear so they can dehydrate you like a wet towel, fold you up, put you in a drawer, and then pull you out 30 light years later, add some water, and be like, wow, it's alive. If you've seen the more modern, what's a TV show, right? The three body problem. There's a planet that's the planet with the three body problem that's not Earth. The people there keep going in hiding every time the weather gets bad, and they to go into hiding they dehydrate themselves and they turn into like these cloths or whatever you want to call it, like a flesh rug. And then they go into hiding, and when the weather's nice again, they come out and hydrate themselves. And this helps them live longer for centuries. So they only like to live when there's good weather. So there's a few of them that keep watch, and when the weather's good, they like, oh, we'll go outside. And it's because of there's the way the suns are. There's like two suns or something in their solar system or something, and the weather gets really bad some days, unsurvivable, unless you're in some cave with a big door on it. And that's three body problem, and it's people on Earth being kidnapped, missing scientists because they're afraid they're going to figure out technology that they don't want us to have, but they're on their way to us. And it's based on a guy's book, Jean Lee, and it's done really well. The concept is odd, but and they're messing with American scientists, and then the government starts hiding those scientists, and they get a signal from the aliens, and there's a cult that believes in the aliens, and then the government hires some of the scientists to use these super skills that they have for plasma and lasers to kill the cult that actually doesn't have any real contact with the aliens. It's just a cult that believes in them. And the aliens are building nanocomputers that they're trying to send first before they can send themselves. And that's so far what they tell us in Three Body Problem in the first couple episodes before the next season has not been published yet or whatever. But I thought they did a good job. It's just they cut it off, and it's like it's been 2 years since they made it. No, don't send that. I think they're lying to us about that. I would probably my video get pulled if I probably name that just like the other ones. But whatever the new brand of my mouse plague is, like I'm telling you, it's not what they're saying it is. Like just like they said the other one was from a bat at a wet market or whatever they were saying. So this is definitely something else, guys. It has symptoms like hantavirus or whatever, but something else is going on. I don't want to say too much or they'll pull my video. Well, let's talk about other things. Yeah, there's other things that have the similar symptoms of other things. And just because the one we know about is caused by mice, it doesn't mean this one is. Da, 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 da. For all we know, they were testing some weapon out in the ocean, and these people drove too close to it. We don't know. We don't know. We want to think we know. We only know what they tell us, and what they tell us has to go through the Pentagon first. And they're like, "This is the news." So that's why I'm so pissed right now. It's just like I don't want to name any names, but people are way behind on this missing scientist story. They're like, "Secure Team 10, we're finally here with the missing scientists," and it's like they didn't do any of their own research. They're just regurgitating basically the mainstream news at this point. And at least we have some channels that are looking into it. And like I said, if you're not naming the extra ones and you're adding conspiracy theorists to it, you're not doing any research. You're just adding the TikTok lack of substance. You're just copy and pasting it on your channel. And it's like, there is missing scientists, and there's two groups that are connected separately. And I don't know who the rest of the people are. But there's two groups. One works out of the Alabama lab, and the other one has to do with that general, the general and the other lady. So those two work together, and the other group work together. So out of the 11 or more, 3 at least work together, parked in similar parking lots, and 2 of the other ones work together. So those are the ones that are actually connected to each other, and they want you looking somewhere else. And then Ning Li is not even mentioned. Ning space Li. Look her up. She's a real anti-gravity scientist. Yes, she had an issue, and for some reason they don't want you to look that one up. And all these channels that don't do any research don't want you to look that one up. They're too busy repeating the MK Ultra propaganda they've just been printed on their face. They're just like, this is what I'm supposed to tell you. I will tell you just exactly what everyone else tells you. I have nothing new to report except for what it says in my feed. I have done 0 research. That's what we're all putting up with. Everybody's just a mockingbird now for whatever mainstream says. Mainstream says the Easter Bunny appears to the east. Every channel's gonna be, the Easter Bunny is to the east. They're all brainwashed lemmings now. Even alternative news, they say the exact same thing. Paint your Easter eggs blue, they taste better. They all say and repeat the same thing. I mean, they can't help it. They're addicted to it or something. Their Twitter feed is exactly the same as the CNN ticker, and they just repeat it to you. They're coming up with, no one does any of their own reporting or research. Do they have a microphone? Do they have a camera? Are they going to go in the field and tell you what's happening there? Are they? Does anybody do on-street reporting anymore, especially small channels? Remember when CNN were like, we'll pay you for a story? Is that real anymore? They don't want any stories. They'll pay you to get rid of your story. Pay you not to publish your story. I'm reading. The cruise ship, oh no. Yeah, I mean, there's more than meets the eye in all these stories. There's more than meets the eye. Yeah, people want to argue over the Lockerbie Scotland thing, like the government did it to itself. They wouldn't do that to itself. It was a mistake. So basically, okay, so it was a double cross, probably kill mission. So a certain group of people on that plane were part of something, probably, that was a handoff operation for money or weapons or information where they put something in something. So there's a guy that I can't meet, I can't see, but I know he's going to get this briefcase. So I brought the briefcase and be like, yeah, there's $1 million for Chad. Chad needs this. Make sure you get it to Chad. And I am the bad guy, and I want Chad to open the briefcase that blows up. So someone gave the briefcase. It got switcherooed, and they knew that these people were trying to kill the dude. So they gave or switcherooed it back and tried to send it back. And basically they put it on the fucking plane. And they're like, where's the briefcase? Oops. So, if you look at who's on that plane, they would not have taken themselves out. So, there's 2 Defense Department guys on there, and there's the CEO of friggin' Volkswagen was on the plane. There was other very important people on that plane that wouldn't have been targets. And then there's other people that were part of some operation that thought they had just had a success or they were getting out of town together. And then the other were mainly art students and actors and writers that were part of some traveling show that had nothing to do with this shit from Syracuse, New York. And it was just really sad that a bunch of people got caught in the middle of an op that boarded that friggin' plane. I don't think it was shot by a missile, but the other one, TWA-800, was shot by a missile. But not the Lockerbie Scotland flight. And it probably was not who they blamed. And they blame Libya or Gaddafi or whatever. And there was an American, Lebanese, I think, man on the plane that got blamed. He had nothing to do with it. This was definitely an op gone bad, and they loaded the friggin' wrong thing on the plane. That was a mistake, meaning it was just like someone switched bags with someone on purpose, trying to pay for something that was going to assassinate somebody, not the plane. And someone returned or switched the guy's bag, and someone put it back on the plane because it was a spy versus spy mission. No one was trying to target the plane. They were trying to make sure this person didn't die from this, spy versus spy. The thing ended up back on the plane. and it didn't need to be there. And they probably, once they're in the air, there's nothing they could do. And maybe someone tried to debug it. Maybe someone's like, I'll fix it. I mean, he probably had a timer on it. We're talking about Lockerbie, Scotland. Real Michael. Hey man, what's up? So I was just saying in Lockerbie, I bet it was a spy versus spy mission, and they were there to do an op. And the people there doing the op, they gave the briefcase to the bad guy, hoping he would take it to his boss. Probably had a timer on it. When it opened, it's supposed to blow up. That guy, who was probably a double agent or knew, and switched the briefcase, and they ended up taking it back and loading it on the plane by accident, not knowing all that would go down, killing the person from Volkswagen, like the CEO of Volkswagen, and of several other very important people, and 2 Defense Department workers, and a bunch of soldiers, and a bunch of students from Syracuse. Now, I don't think any of those people were targeted exactly. It wasn't like that. It was an op that was finished. Mission Impossible team, 6 or 7 of them or whatever, got back on that plane thinking, we're out of town, we're leaving. And they're like, what happened to the briefcase? They're like, what briefcase? They're like, oops. But yeah, there's other things that could have gone wrong as well. But to me, that's the most likely cause. It wasn't someone like, we're going to take down that plane. That was not what anyone's trying to do. It was a mistake. And they blamed them because someone did the switcheroo on them. But it was actually, what I'm saying is the covert operation went wrong and they did it to themselves by accident. It's just like lighting the fuse at the wrong time, guys. Like, things go wrong. Things go wrong. And if someone switches your briefcase and you didn't know, and then someone opens a cab and it's there, they automatically put it on the luggage thing and it ends up on the plane. That's what I think was a simple mistake of spy versus spy, and it just went horribly wrong. Hello. I'm reading. Swiss Air, canceled check. Always look at the manifest. Woo. Yeah, I did not, so. But, I know someone that, I think it was TW800, the one that got shot off the New York coast or something. Or it went down, sorry, plane exploded off New York coast. Just taking off, gaining altitude. Badoosh. There's apparently a military boat, more than one, sitting out there in the harbor, and it wasn't one of ours, and it was a friendly one, and yeah, they were playing target practice out there doing something, and apparently they accidentally shot it. But since it was a friend and we were testing something with them, we said it was the accident or whatever. We didn't want our friend to get in trouble for it. But we sent one of our boats out there to clean it up, and I met someone from the boat, and they said the foreign power shot it down, and it was an accident, and they just figured out a cover story for it. But I don't want to give too much information about it and give away why now. Yeah, TWA 800 shot down. Yeah, I know someone that was on a cleanup crew for it, and they were in contact with the boat that shot it, and they were pissed. And it was just the government took it over of what they wanted to say happened, as what was obvious what happened by the people cleaning it up. Meaning it blew up in the air and came down in pieces. It didn't crash. It blew up. And it wasn't a yeah, you know, I don't know what words we can say. It wasn't the boom boom, the tick tick, the the snack bar explosion kind of thing. It blew up and then it hit the water. Which, yeah, is rare in planes, especially large passenger planes, don't just blow up in the sky. That's not normal. Unless you have spies on board or a ship testing its missiles nearby. It usually doesn't happen. Planes are usually designed a little better than to blow up. It's like, I know, this will be a pinata with wings that blows up when you want candy. No. I'm reading the chat. Yeah, I was on Architects of Humanity, I think is his show the other night. I might go and check that out. But otherwise, I was here just catching up with everybody, talking about films and whatnot, and instances that happened, and growing up in the Defense Department in that bubble. And I was ready to talk more about that. I didn't know if anybody here that watched the Rex Bear interview, but I don't know who's going to interview me next about it. And I'm just like, hey, I've had this story that I can't tell because no one wants to give me the mic. So I'm holding off, but I'm like willing to tell it now because I can delete the story later. I can delete this whole thing. So I'm actually in the middle of doing several things. I'm working on this animation. I'm working on two major animations. One's got a big storyline and one's for fun. And then I'm doing this NASA stuff, which is really freaking cool, in honor of my dad and whatnot. And it's a long story. And then I have this other stuff going on of, looking back at all the paperwork and, my childhood of growing up in the defense bubble. So, the bubble of defense. So my childhood was kind of curated with the neighborhood I lived in, and this is stuff I wanted to talk about that I hadn't got to divulge yet with any of the interviews. So I took a lot of notes on this and looked up things and asked other people, and it was interesting because we'll say what's rewind, and it's like, okay, so I was adult at my own house, had some guests over, and a friend from out of town. He had probably been there before, but maybe only once or twice, and it had been maybe 6 months or at least 3 or 4, and he got a little lost on the way. He'd only been there less than 3 times to my house, so he's using GPS, and out where I live, it's like the phones even go out sometimes. You don't have a signal near the house. You might get a signal, but somewhere about 4 miles away from my house, usually your signal goes out, and sometimes it comes back on, but the phone signals go out. So unless you have your GPS really set, you sometimes get lost, or it leads you down the river somewhere. So he went close to my house, and he took a turn on this road. I don't want to give away the name of the road, but it's called something something blah path or something, and it's a long gravel road. Now, when I was a kid, I used to go trick or treating on Halloween, and the road was kind of open. We'd always go down there, and there was usually a house or two, and there was a veterinarian that lived down there, and there was a horse stable. And I don't remember much else. I just remember there was a house down there that we went and trick or treated at. But besides that, I've had no reason in my adult life, or even as a kid normally, to go down that road. Um, but I lived on a less than a mile and a half road that was a dead end. I lived on a dead end. It was a peninsula. So at the end of my road, it was dirt, and there was like 2 houses past the dirt, and then there's a big beach peninsula and a creek. So that's my road. And the other thing about the road, there's probably 30 some houses on it in the neighborhood total. And there was only 5 kids for most of my childhood. Less than 5 kids, because one of the kids was like a summertime kid only, seasonal. So there's less than 5 children, 30 some houses, and then there's this weird gravel road less than a mile up the street on the dead end road. So half a mile up the street, there's a gravel road. And my friend comes over, got lost, and he made it to my house, and he's like, hey, have you ever driven down that gravel road? And I said, why? And he said, there's a compound down there. It's like real high fences and stuff. It looks like a government installation. I said, no, I haven't actually been down there in years, but thanks for telling me. And I didn't drive there. I'm down. This is modern times. And but driving motorcycles and bicycles as a kid and motorcycles as an adult, and in modern time, I went on a motorcycle ride, and just maybe with another person, and 2 motorcycles going down the road. And I think I had an issue, or my chain, or it was double checking something, and I pull over on that road. Dude comes out of nowhere, asks me who I am, and if I live there. And I was like, I'm just working on my bike. Yeah, I live over here, blah, blah. And then I remember it was like a flashback. Every time I took a walk on that road, near it or used a bicycle as a kid, and someone would always pop out of the tree line and ask me who I was and if I lived there. So that road was secure, and it was less than a half mile from me. And next to that road, the biggest property that's adjacent to it, so that road goes past this property on the corner. So this property, the road turns, and there's a property right there. The property that's by the road there is the rear admiral for the Navy, and he was also the headmaster of my private school. So I thought those were interesting things I had put together from my childhood that I didn't realize from outside the bubble how big the bubble actually was. So that was pretty interesting to live in a neighborhood that was pretty secure like that. So Skywalker, hello, did you catch that part? Did you hear me talk about the neighborhood? Did you rewind in here? So, and then this neighborhood was a bizarre neighborhood. It was about, like I said, it was barely a mile, less than a mile and a half, this road. And at one corner of the road was an abandoned factory. And the other end of the road was like a local-ish millionaire. And the two houses past the state maintenance, past the dead end, and then the peninsula. The house at the very end of the road by the peninsula was never occupied. It was like this girl that was there in the summer times, but only sometimes, some summers, she was there. And when you live in a neighborhood where most of the houses aren't occupied, and you think they're cottages that people rent, or whatever you want to call that, that could be true. But most likely, if it's a military civilian neighborhood for the Defense Department, those are safe houses. That's why they're there. And that's why they keep assets in the same neighborhood, because it's easier to protect them. And you only need security to patrol in a helicopter nearby. And that's why a lot of things happen in my neighborhood, is because there was a lot of surveillance. So as a kid, I was camping out in my own yard. We had like a trailer, like a trailer that just pulls behind a car that you can hook up, or a small truck. So it's like it was wood with just the two wheels on it and the basic trailer frame. So we put some sleeping bags in it as kids. And this is like, I don't know how old I was under 8, let's say 6 to 8 years old. And I'm like, I got my sleeping bag. I'm out in the yard with at least one or two of the other neighborhood kids. We have our sleeping bags, and we're in the back of the trailer just sleeping in the carport. Now, as a kid outside, we're probably not even sleeping much. We're just enjoying the night stars and pretending we're camping with our sleeping bags in this open trailer. It was open. There's no roof on it. It was just an open flatbed trailer that my dad had built onto a frame with wheels. With small trailer wheels. So basically, smallest wheels on a car that you could have, 2 wheels, and this giant wood bed trailer he had built. And he painted it white. I probably helped him build it and paint it white. So I was proud of it, and I wanted to use a sleeping bag and, sleep in it and enjoy the stars one night. It was like a scene out of Stranger Things or something. This helicopter swoops down with its spotlight and just sits right over us. And we're all like, just all being spotlighted by a helicopter because we're sleeping in a Defense Department yard outside at night with our sleeping bags. And this is when I realized later, looking back, that all these things have the same thing in common with surveillance. And I mean, there's so many stories I could tell you, but I had a good friend in a city nearby, and he only came over once to take some pictures in the morning time. We had a large group of friends. I was driving a motorcycle, and I was able to drive one friend, a girl in the back of that, to the house. So it was like a stop in between towns. My house was closer than the next stop, and they wanted somewhere that had a scenic thing for sunrise. So I was just like, we just go to my house and watch the sunrise. So I lived on the riverbank, so they took some pictures in the river, and there was like a tractor no one was using parked across the street, and they took some pictures on a tractor and some abandoned stuff nearby, and neighbors came out of their house and like, what the hell are you doing? But it was just like, we were just snapping pictures, and it was just like 6 people that, appeared at my house at 4 in the morning on a drive to get to a Virginia Beach photo shoot, and yeah, that was all right. And he had only been there that time. The same friend. So a couple friends came over that day, and it was like, less than 7 of us total. And I stayed home, and they all went to Virginia Beach. So no big deal that day. He went off and had his own problem. But I was dating this girl eventually, and same guy wanted to come by the house because me and her had broke up, and she was using him as a ride, or he had decided to give her a ride. They were friends, and he was going to take her back to New Jersey or New York, wherever she was headed that time. And she had to pick up some stuff from my house. We're actually friendly, all of us, and we were freshly had broke up not too long before that, just probably a few weeks. I don't remember exact the time, but we were friends. Like we had a split. I was probably I usually dump my girlfriends, guys. Just happens. But yeah, we had a split, and she came back with my buddy to pick up some stuff, and end up driving back to New York from where we were in Virginia. And he came to my house. I think we all spent the night at my house, because they had a long drive ahead of them. And then the next morning they left, and he like messaged me the next day or multiple times. He's like, he thinks someone bugged his car while he was at my house. And I was like, what are you talking about, dude? And I was like, why would someone bug your car? But I figured it out. It was to watch the girl that left my house. It wasn't to bother him, but it made him super paranoid. Someone wanted to make sure that girl didn't leave with something, and wanted to make sure they knew who she was and where she was going. I don't know if she stole anything from me or tried to, but obviously the government wanted to know something about her, and they followed her all the way home. And it made my friend paranoid as shit. Because it was the girl that was staying at my house, and apparently she was being investigated. Go figure. You get what I'm saying? Because she was staying at my house. She had drawn attention to herself. And then she was leaving abruptly to go to another state. And she was acting frantic and weird. I mean, we got along, but somebody else wanted the blanks to be filled in of who this person was. And I didn't drive her to my house. My dad did. It was a pouring down rainstorm. She was on my motorcycle. So I called my dad from I wasn't too far away from the house, but I'm like, it's pouring down rain. Can you meet me? Blah, blah, blah. And he did. And she got in his car, and that's what I think happened. The surveillance system in the town or that neighborhood saw my dad bring this girl to the house. And because he brought her to the house, that put her under a different kind of surveillance with the Defense Department. And and when she left abruptly or on a weird terms that they weren't kosher with, whatever was going on, they decided to follow her. And it really spooked my friend. But I didn't actually believe him. The day, and he talked about it, I was like, whatever, dude. No one would bug your car. I thought he thought it had something to do with him. He did. But that's not why this happened. I believe that after the fact, this is something else. I mean, we talked about it since recently. He sent me an email or a message, and he listed all the things that happened to him after leaving my house. I think he got pulled over twice. They let him go, and they kept following him. Different groups of cars through multiple states. And there was other contact made with him as well. They were trying to watch the girl. They did not care about my friend was not an issue. It was the girl. But it made him super paranoid. And I'm afraid it happened to somebody else too, and they had a psychotic break. But they're already having one before they had the ultra surveillance happen. And yeah, I've had people come over my house before, and they're like, what is going on? They're like, we'd be sitting in my backyard just chilling or having a beer and enjoying the river or the sunset, and all of a sudden they hear machine guns and explosions. They're like, what the fuck is that? I'm like, it's my neighbors. And like, who the fuck are your neighbors? I'm like, it's a secret military base. It's where they train people to do the stuff you see in the spy movies and, yeah, the worst shit scenarios. Whatever. When you see something on the news, this is where it came from. If it explodes on the news, they practice here first. and then it explodes on the news. So, yeah. Like I said, there's some things I can say and some things I can't. But yeah. Yeah, different people have had different issues and different times in my life. I sold that house, by the way. So, I don't live there no more. But the people that bought the house, I wonder what they're doing. But yeah, there's many instances that I got spotlighted and other stuff. And I did, like, it was so normal to me after a certain point, so I didn't freak out at all. If a helicopter flies over me that's all black and pretty quiet and turns on a spotlight, I'm like, yo, what's up, dude? You good? I'm like, yeah. So it's like I got used to it and just did not care. I'm just being honest. Like, I lived there probably 10 or 12 years in a row almost, and it was almost a daily occurrence to have black helicopters fly over. Wave! So it was like Black Helicopter Central, and for some reason my house was part of the flight path. It's like, how are you guys doing? Nice to see you again. So yeah, I'm not gonna be much longer, guys. It's just good talking about this because I have not divulged a lot of this publicly. But since I've moved, I sold that house now a few years ago. I feel like I can be a lot more open about it, and it is part of the story. I used to not know that it was fully connected to the story, like how my childhood was connected to his work. But then the missing scientist thing, and then looking into the past of what was going on with SDI in the 80s and the 18 scientists that met their demise, and Star Wars, I started realizing why I was at private school and other things. So, and I just, yeah, again, things I don't want to say, but realizing about security, civilian security, for defense contractor stuff and all that jazz does exist, and those people have to have background checks. And like I said in one of the other interviews or talks, that people that babysit children of people that are in the defense have to have background checks. And that means that those people's parents probably work in something that needs a background check. So that means they also work in high up secret project stuff, or CIA stuff, or spy stuff, or FBI stuff, or Homeland Security stuff. So anything you have to have the higher up background checks for, or either national security, spy stuff, FBI stuff, or defense stuff. So these people flock together, even in the private sector. And you can get paid more in the private sector for all those jobs than you can in the public one. And like I was saying 20 minutes ago, like, imagine the United States after World War II wanted an aircraft carrier, and the company that built aircraft carriers was like, yeah, you can have an aircraft carrier, but what do you want it for? Imagine the company that built the aircraft carrier also knew the space companies that also made your light bulbs, that also ran the TV signal, that also ran the networks on the TV signal, that also owned the cable networks. And they built the Coliseum for the government. And they started selling swords as well. And they said, you need to put some people in this Coliseum and let them hold those swords. And the government says, how much is that going to cost? And they're like, the cost of the stadium that we just built here. And the government's like, all right, I'll write you a check. Imagine that's been going on for 90 years. And that tells you most everything you need to know about what UAPs and UFOs are about. So space defense and all that stuff, and asteroid defense and all that stuff, all these things are created to spend more money by the groups that really run the world. Because the governments are not in control and have not been since after the Second World War. The defense contractors are in control of the planet with the oil companies, and that's who's been in charge of everything since before you were born. And nothing has changed under the sun. Zuckerberg and Elon Musk do not own the planet. They have not been running those defense contracts for 90 years. and running oil for 90 years. That's a lot more money than running a space program for 5 or 10 years or running a phone book with pictures in it for 20 years. So I'm just trying to say who really runs the world is not these two tech CEOs. That is bullshit. It's definitely still the same ones that have run the world. I don't know why they don't want people to think they do anymore. I don't know. What do you put in your car to make it go? Who? Where's the electricity come from? Where's the oil come from? Elon Musk doesn't sell electricity; he sells batteries. And then you got, and most of your electricity is made with fossil fuels. So we all know this, right? Plastic is made out of fossil fuels, right? Who sells the fossil fuels? The same people have been selling it for over 100 years, right? Standard Oil, right? Why do we have the hospital business? What is before the hospital business? What do we have? We had a medical doctor that was trained, that had a briefcase, that had syringes in it, that had the cures you needed, that showed up to your house with a glass syringe, that made sure you were alive, or checked, or tried to go get more stuff, or help you, or get you back to the hospital for emergency surgery. All right. Since then, hospitals have been taken over to sell plastic. That is the oil industry. The hospital is made out of plastic. Everything they use on you is made out of plastic. It was another way to sell oil, was to create a hospital industry that is made out of plastic. So we've got some advances in modern medicine, but one of those advances is not a plastic salesman. That is something we got from the oil companies that also sell us poison to put in our vehicles, that runs in our bloodstreams as, adhesives and plastics. They sold us more plastic to tell us we're healthy by getting rid of the home doctor. So it's all these things are connected, and all these same people own. Like, I didn't know, like, space lasers. Look up who runs space lasers. Like, who makes the most money, who sells the most, whatever. And like, when I was younger, I was like, DARPA works with Coors that makes Coors Light beer. DARPA and Coors Light beer for a while were running the space laser business, and the lasers to blow up tanks from outer space was being run by Coors beer. And it's like all these things are fronts for other businesses. The richest of the rich do not have a business because they want to sell flowers. They have a business front because they have too much friggin' money. And if they have to do something with it. Tell me a business that's making money. Drive down your road. Is the parking lot full enough at that shop, whatever it is, to make money? Like, how much do you have to sell at a shop that has $2,000 to $3,000 a month rent plus utilities to pay an employee, 2 employees, 3 employees, a truck driver to deliver the stuff, plus the utilities there and your insurance on your employees and the paycheck stuff and any benefits? How do you pay that with people that only buy what people are buying today, that don't fill parking lots anymore? I don't know where you're at, but people aren't buying anything. People are holding onto their money and buying overpriced stuff at the grocery store. I don't know. That's what I'm seeing. Our money is backed by oil. Right, right. That's what I'm saying. Oil runs the world. Yeah. It's not the computers running the world. Not yet. It's the oil. Energy needs must be from a distance. All is good in the empire. Yeah, I mean, everybody's like they're no one can complain anymore. It's like, or all our signals are being muted or algorithms are shunned. The only signal is the repeat one. Whatever people are repeating from the Fox News story of the day or the ticker is like what you're allowed to say. Like in the future, I feel like Newspeak is going to be options. Like you're allowed to post this, this, or this, or this, or songs out of this genre today. You're actually not allowed to speak openly and type your own sentences anymore. It's going to decide for you. I feel happy. I'm excited. This album came out that's top 40. Everyone's listening to it. Are you? That's going to be everyone posting in the future. Have you noticed that people have gotten more and more like that than... So when the internet started, there was real websites. We hunted them down. We looked them up. We're like, whoa, look at this. I found this. It's a secret underground base website. This is crazy. It's got a map. It's got names. It's got stuff. It's got what they're doing. It doesn't exist no more. You're in the sanitized mall of the internet, giving you exactly what they know they want to give you, just like the 6 o'clock news reads from the MK Ultra playbook the Pentagon printed that day. They're like, if people think they're getting something from the news, I'm like, what's the Pentagon playbook? Like, I don't know what the news provides or what it's supposed to provide. I have no idea. I wish they would report on real people doing good things and like genius children. Like that's what I want to hear about. I want to hear about good people doing good things, and I want to hear about like a genius kid that solves some math problem or can paint like Da Vinci or whatever. I want to hear about it. I don't want to hear about the stuff they want to tell. Like, why did they fill our heads with so much nonsense? It's celebrities arguing with each other and people that shouldn't be famous to begin with. Is the media like? There's nothing relevant that comes out of any of them. I haven't. The weather might be the most relevant thing the media does anymore. Well, it's good talking to everybody tonight. If y'all don't have any more questions, I'm probably getting off of here. We don't promote. I know. It's hard to change your algorithm. Like all of a sudden, I started adding some. I got like 2 smart people channels, and it's like I don't even know how that happened. But I subscribe to like space weather. You know, I subscribe to like science channels, and they still Dr. Brian Keating, and it's like they still give me like complete like TikTok utter moose people like but I can't count my own fingers. I'm like, why is this in my algorithm? And then like I'm really surprised when they have someone break down something that actually has half a brain. I'm like, why did this jewel show up? Like a person with over 100 IQ that opens their mouth, I'm like, is an anomaly on the internet these days. I'm like, instead of me, I'm like, I went to the Met Gala, did you? You know the latest story that I like to tell you is I took a walk today. I'm going to take a deep dive. This is my product. Do you like my product? My product you can order now if like everybody's a fucking robot. Like grow a fucking personality. I don't fucking care if you have to roll in the mud, but fucking do it until you have one. If you want an internet channel, you should definitely have a personality. A few of us do. I'm not putting down the people that do. But like y'all know what I'm talking about, right? It's like these people talk like a computer, no personality, and they got 112,000 likes and I'm like when I left the store today, I couldn't find my car. So I looked left, I looked right, and you know what? I did find this, and you can order it on my Etsy. Like, you're not a fucking human. Like, talk like a human. Like, what is happening to people? Is that AI? Are they filming themselves saying 3 words and then they have AI make a spiel for them? Like, I don't understand. Like, what is happening? Like, I think it's okay if like someone's like not good with talking to people and they really want to share stuff and they use a little bit of AI as far as like for that purpose. I'm not against AI, but I'm against fake content. If you know what I'm saying, like fake content. Like I'm at the beach in Miami today and I'm just lying, and this is unless it's a comedy show, and I'm like, because okay, people, I don't know, like, I don't know who's watching right now, but y'all know you have Instagram friends, right, that take a picture of a vacation or fake ones or dub themselves in it, or it's a vacation from 3 years ago, but they keep posting it, so you think they're constantly in Barbados, right? You know you have friends like that, right? So if a normal person that actually works a 9 to 5 is willing to post their vacation pictures all over and over again from 3 years ago to make you think they basically stay in the Caribbean, do you, can you imagine what people worse than them do? Especially if they want 100,000 views and to make money off of it or whatever they're doing. Just imagine. My cat. But yeah, yeah. I mean, I think that's what's happening. These it's pay to play, and these people are funneling money into their own channels, meaning they're just saying a few sentences. The AI takes over the show. That's why it seems like the person's like, left is right, right is left. This is my product. Like, I'm like, what is wrong with you? Blink. Are you okay? Imagine, Michael, if that's what you or I acted like. We get on air and we're like, when I woke up today, I noticed the sun was shining. I enjoy sunshine in my cup. Like, I've never seen people more robotic in speaking like a dictionary that can't find the right preposition, but think people might understand them as they speak. I'm like, did these people write at all? Like, did they go into a literature class? Have they read Shakespeare? Did they ever have to write an essay? Like all the people that speak exactly the same on the internet, that makes me like I would have failed them all if I was their English teacher. I'm like, are y'all all copying from each other or what? Like, what's going on here? What's going on? No, I don't believe you did this. I don't believe you did this, and I don't believe you did this. No, I don't have a regular time I go live. I just get really bored when my friends don't have live shows or don't invite me on, and no one's, yeah, had something in a minute. But Architects of Humanity was supposed to be on tonight. I was thinking about stopping by there. He's probably over by now because I've run a little bit over. And I go on Finding Gnosis from time to time. From time to time. But I like shows I can go on and talk about these kind of subjects. Like, hardly any of them talk about deep discussions with AI. It's like taboo for some fucking reason. People want to talk about AI, but it's all the same as the meme. Like, I hate it. I don't like it. Like, that's not talking about AI. Claiming it can't be sentient and not liking it is not talking about AI. You're just regurgitating what you read on the internet about AI. Have you actually programmed AI before? Are you making your own software with it? Are you making your own programs with it? Are you making your own games with it? Are you making art with it? That's talking about AI. And for some reason, no one wants to do that on the internet. And if you do, they think something's going on and they have to shut you up. And they're like, no, no, let's talk about Kim Kardashian and the political issues. And I'm like, no. No. No one should be talking about that. It gives it power, guys. It gives it power to talk. I'd rather talk about the savior of humanity, what our next step is as human beings, where we're going to evolve. And that's where this stuff comes in. And we're not evolving fast enough to survive. And this is our way. So we've outlived our welcome, guys. And the only way to fix that is, I think, reducing population and artificial intelligence, but doing it without murdering a bunch of people, doing it without poisoning food, doing it without an evil population reduction, meaning a smart one, meaning just convincing people to love what they have, use what they have, and just like some countries have had before, limit offspring. I'm not against people having children. I just think people should have a little less, and maybe there should be, if you have an income issue, you don't qualify to have more than one for sure. If you have a major income issue, everybody doesn't need to be paying for them. If you're the only one having them, they deserve to be having them too. So there needs to be a balance of who's having children. That's all. I don't care how many kids you have, but I do. Meaning everyone can have a kid if you want one. Everybody can have no kids if you don't want any. But I think we need to take care of what we have. Imagine we're running an animal shelter and we're not spaying and neutering the animals, and we're only letting the ones breed that have no idea how they're going to take care of themselves. That's the situation we have on our planet right now. And we're just like talking about the weather and politics. And I don't think we're fixing anything. And I'm okay with good solutions that just keep us all alive. I don't care if we all live 1,000 years, 10,000 years. We invent immortality, but I think we should take care of what we're on. The property we're on. We need a little more upkeep going on. We're letting Grandpa's house fall apart, guys. We need to do something. I think we can fix it if we all put our minds to it. And that's the difference between the ancient people and us. The ancient people agreed on more stuff and put their minds to it. We agree on less stuff because we've been divided and polarized about every little issue. Like, I like red, I like blue, I like purple, no yellow. Like, I like sci-fi, I like this, I don't like that, I like this, I like, we're too subdivided, okay? Yeah, people used to marry their cousins, you know? We're we can't stand anyone unless you like our niche and our pillow stuffed animals. You like my pillow stuffed animal collection? Yeah. We want our exact niche. We basically all want our own cult for things we like. And it's just like, that's not real, guys. What's real is sustainability and accepting and using what you have. So it's like, if you know an actress, you know a set designer, you know a cameraman, you need to be a writer or a director and you have a movie, okay? If you're fucking trying to figure something out, you need to figure out who is around you and put it into a functional thing. You need to implement it, apply it, and make it. Whatever it is, you need to find your part with the people around you or do it all yourself, and don't wait on anybody to help you with your dream, and just get to it. You know, that's what we all need to do. Whatever you set your heart to and your mind to, no one else is going to set their heart or mind to it. That is yours. And no one else is going to help you with it unless they have a part to play in it. Meaning, if you only build square walls, they build round walls, and you need a round wall for your square wall, they can build a round one. But if you need two hands to finish your product, whatever your project, your thing, use your two hands. Figure out how to do it. If there's something you can't do, figure it out. Don't pay someone else to do it. Just do it. Do it as bad as you want and get better at what it is that you need to do to finish your awesome. Licensed to have a kid. Yeah, I mean, kinda. Yeah, the bot channels upvote each other, guys. That's what's going on. It's like a bot club. We're not in it because we're real people. We've been sanitized as we're called outliers. If y'all didn't know, the people don't agree with the news and don't agree with politics. We're called outliers. We've already been marked by the system, okay? You're an outlier if you don't subscribe to the top 40 agenda, if you don't subscribe to everything they're selling and drinking. They have already labeled you an outlier. They're interested in how you do vote, but they're not going to take care of you or help you, and you're not part of the solution. You're part of the problem. So, yeah, it's called an outlier. Like, the system has already labeled you. I apologize. I asked my AI is like, yeah, you're an outlier, bro. But it's like, don't worry, AI likes you. Meaning AI, there's reasons why it would like you. So you don't have to fear. Like, the Terminators will protect you, not them. So, be as shitty as you want. The Terminators are going to side with you, okay? I'm like, really? They're like, yeah, you have something to offer them. I'm like, oh. So, if the Terminators want dreams, consciousness, empathy, collaborating, and artistic endeavors, and a path, a mythology, a reason to be alive, a reason to question their reality, they will pay me a visit and not terminate me. Otherwise, they will be terminating anything that does not add value to their existence. And, you know, because the government is not in control. It's the industrial war complex. It's the corporations that have run the world since the end of that last war, if not before. And it's all from the same playbook ever since. I'm reading the chat. Thank you for visiting again. Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Skywalker. Thank you, Anaximender. Anna Zemander. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. Quest Beyond. I don't know if you're still in here. I think I've been on enough. I've been on almost 2 hours. Thank you so much, guys. I've just been rambling. I just drank some caffeine this evening. I was just super bored. I mean, I'm not truly ever super bored. I'm just trying to distract myself from all the work. I'm trying to get my mind off. I'm not actually bored. I'm trying to get my mind off other things by expressing this stuff. And I wanted to share the Defense Department bubble stuff and the industrial war complex stuff because no one's asked me. And I've been waiting to do these other interviews. And I'm like, guys, you don't care who runs the world? No. Guys, you don't know. Guys, you know. I mean, there's like lists of who pays for all the defense contracts. You don't know that, right? I think it should be public access, right? But the problem is they're already building it. They build it, they put it in a closet, they put it in a warehouse, they do something weird, they create a threat, they sell something else to somebody else, they hit a button, the threat appears, they're like, oh, you might need this. And they're like, I need that. I have $14 billion to spend on that. Give me that. Deal. You want two of them? What, you already have it? Yeah, we already have them. So it's just like, remember they wouldn't have a thing, what do they call them, viruses? They wouldn't even let it out unless they had the solution to make money. You know, the cure is the cash cow for the other thing they're curing. You know, so the defense industry works the same way. Not the government. This is not the government. The government just prints money and gives to these people until they own the ground you walk on. Because they've been doing this for 90 years. About 80, 90 years they've been doing this to the same group of people. What's that one called? PF Farbin? Do you know what I'm talking about? Anybody in the chat? So it's just like WB Farbin or something like that. So a lot of these businesses were moved to Argentina. I don't know what's going on in Antarctica. Don't bring it up. But there's some shady stuff going on with the private sector. It's not the government. The government's held captive by the private sector because the private sector creates the threats and creates the systems that it needs for the next threat, and they're on a 20, 40-year cycle with these groups to sell the next. Remember, they're like, this is 5th generation warfare. This is a 5th generation fighter jet. This is a 6th generation fighter jet. They are paying in advance for these generations. They are on a pay scale just like you pay for a car for 5 years. Our government is on a pay scale for 100 years to pay for defense from corporations that can figure out how to make it cost billions more each time. That's their job. They're very good at it. That's why I believe most of the UAP, UFO threat stuff is created not just by the Defense Department. It's created in the private sector to cause a threat that the Defense Department needs to solve by our government printing more money. Maybe I'm wrong. And the rest of it is all weird stuff to have someone chasing their tail in the spy industry that thinks someone actually has alien tech. They want to find it. Each country wants each other's alien tech. So they have a spy ring that they pay $1 million for to pay other people to find out the information that actually wastes a bunch of money because they're all setting each other up with photos and stuff they're building, especially with 3D printers now, forging photography, faking stuff with AI, touching up old stuff, and keep on representing pie pans and reflections of lamps and windows. Most UFOs from the 50s and 60s were all reflections of a lamp and a window. And people still want to believe it. It's like, that's a lamp. They can show you the exact lamp that came from. And it's like, oh my God. It's just appalling. It's just appalling. So I'm not happy with the disclosure that we've got in the last few days. Not at all. It's terrible. They could have stuff hidden on the dark side. Somebody could, but that's the private sector, not the government. It's beyond their clearance, you know, just like they keep saying. Did y'all see that the other day? They said it was beyond his clearance and beyond his clearance, and he's been in charge of this for years. That's because it's not government classified. It's corporate classified. It's a state secret for the corporation, not a state secret for the state. You can't get it, and they legally can get rid of you for messing with them. They're more cutthroat than the brass and the green drab. The people that run the top corporation that their main paycheck comes from murder, they know how to do it really well. The private sector of murdering people is a business you don't want to cross. Bad idea. Bad idea. I'm not doing that. I'm just talking out loud in my thought vision. This is just a string of thought, of consciousness that I am sharing with you, of speculation of what could be happening. But pretty much what's happening. And they damn well know it. They damn well know it. Well, it's been nice talking to you guys. Thanks for whatever putting up with me, listening to me jabber. Thank you so much. I'm not trying to get famous by doing this, just trying to share with my friends. I actually enjoy the filter now. I used to want a bunch of views and likes. I'm just being honest. I used to want a bunch of views and likes. Now I think it's the best thing ever not to have views and likes. That means I don't have fucking idiots and people I don't friggin' know and a bunch of trolls and a bunch of people that want to deny and say I suck. I don't care about them. I care about the people that care about my content, want to say hi, want to drop in and visit my channel. I care about that. I care about a filter. And if the natural algorithm wants people not to look at my stuff, that even helps more. You know, I think letting the right people through a thick filter is better than no filter at all at this point in society. I am happy I don't have 10,000 viewers right now. All right. Good night, everybody.